Hey guys, welcome back to the Curly Reader. My name's Amanda, and today I want to share with you all of the books that I read in the month of April. Okay, so like I mentioned in my May TBR, April was just a bit of a bummer of a month for me as far as reading goes. Like in my reading life, everything else was fine, but I did not get a whole lot of reading done. I hit a massive reading slump. I didn't want to listen to any books. I didn't want to read any books. It was just kind of blah. And then of the books that I did read, not very many of them were really all that great. So that also really kind of stunk. I ended up having to back out of a lot of different buddy reads, and it just was not a great month, reading wise. But I did end up reading 7 books total. And so I do want to share with you the books that I did finish. And so the first one that I want to talk about is I would say it's probably like a upper middle grade, lower YA graphic novel that I got from NetGalley, and that is The Girl and the Glim. This is by India Swift, Michael Doig. And so, yeah, like I said, this was a NetGalley graphic novel that I read, and it just was not that great. I had a really hard time with the illustrations following some of the fight scenes. So it's like a fantasy about this girl who moves into this new town, and then she starts being able to see these like extraterrestrial creatures that she's trying to like fight off, and she's the only one that can see them. It's kind of weird, but the fight scenes were really hard to follow from a like panel to panel sort of illustration style. And it was just fine. So that one got 2 stars for me. Another middle grade graphic novel that I read from NetGalley is Swim Team by Johnny Christmas. And this one I actually really enjoyed. This is about a girl who is moving to Florida with her father. I believe her mother has passed away, and so it's just her and her father, and she does not know how to swim. And she's moving into this town where the swim team is very popular, swimming is very prevalent, and so she kind of gets in with, she ends up having to take a swim class at school, and then she kind of gets in with the swim team, learns about the history of swimming within the Black community, because she and her father are Black, and learning about the history of swimming and this like myth that Black people don't swim or it's not part of their culture, and kind of addressing that. And she learns how to swim from an elderly Black person who was on the swim team when she was in high school, and like learning about that. And it was really good. I really appreciated the cultural context of it, but it was also just a lot of fun. And so, yeah, especially if you have a kid who's into swimming as a sport, I think that this would be a fantastic read. And even not, I think it's a great graphic novel. So those were the 2 graphic novels that I read for the month. All right, and then the next book that I read was also from NetGalley, and this was a contemporary. This one was on my anticipated releases of the year, and that is The Beach Trap by Allie Brady. This comes out on June 14th, and so it comes out next month. I read it early. It was fun. I thought that it was going to be like a Parent Trap retelling, and it kind of is-ish, maybe, but it follows 2 sisters who don't know they're sisters. They end up meeting at a summer camp when they're 15 years old, or 15? 12? 12. I don't remember now. Anyway, when they are around that age, they meet at a summer camp and become very fast friends. And then they find out that they're actually half sisters. And one of them is the illegitimate, like, bastard child of the other one's father. And so after that, they quit talking, break ties, never speak to each other again. And then when their father passes away, he leaves them a joint inheritance of this rundown beach house. And so they both go into this beach house with different intentions and different expectations. They haven't spoken to each other in many, many years. And so they're kind of getting to know each other again. There's like a romance going on with each of them. It's told from both of their different perspectives. It was good. It wasn't great. It wasn't anything that like completely blew me out of the water, but it was good. One of the sisters is like an Instagram influencer and trying to build up that. The other one is just very, I don't know, like family-based, is trying to take care of her grandpa, things like that. And so their personality differences, and all of that comes into play as well. And it was, like I said, it was a fun summertime book, but it wasn't anything that like totally blew me out of the water. So I gave that one 3.5 stars. All right, next, sorry, I have to keep looking down because most of these books I don't own. And so I just have to keep looking at my Goodreads read list. So the next book that I listened to is Everybody Fights, So Why Not Get Better at It by Kim and Penn Holderness. I love the Holderness family. I have watched their like YouTube and Facebook like parody videos for a long time. And then they were actually on this latest season of The Amazing Race. And so I watched that because they were on it. And I, after watching The Race, have just grown to really appreciate their relationship. They are about 10 years-ish older than me, and I find them very inspiring. And so they wrote this book together about fighting in marriage, because you will fight, you will disagree. How do you handle that? And so it's told in this style where they take one of the fights that they have had and then they base a chapter off of that fight. And so they are using a lot of tools and tips and advice that they have learned through their marriage counseling that they've done through one of the pastors at their church. And it's not a religious book. It does not talk about religion at all, other than mentioning the pastors and stuff. But other than that, so it's just about communicating better. And I loved listening to this on audio because you can tell their love for each other through the audio. It's pretty much just like sitting down and listening to them have a conversation. Penn would break out in song, as he is wont to do. And as they're reading it, one of them would get really emotional and the other one would comfort them. Like, it just added so much to the reading experience by listening to it. And I learned a lot that I have started using in my own relationship that has been helpful, and things that I learned about myself through this book that I thought was really helpful. And so, yeah, this one was like one of the only books this month that I really, really liked. And this one got 5 stars for me because I just thought it was perfect for me. So I would highly recommend it. So yeah, that one was Everybody Fights by Kim and Penn Holderness. All right, the next book that I read as a buddy read, and I ended up reading The Lost Girls of Paris by Pam Jenoff. This is one of the books that I got from Book Exchange. I don't remember if it was one that I got while, oh, there it is. Yeah, so I got this one from Lindsay from Book Exchange. And I know Pam Jenoff is a well-beloved historical fiction author. I had never read anything from her before, and honestly, this was not my favorite book. I did not like this at all. I found this to be very frustrating. I really didn't care a lot about like some of the points of view. So this is about, sorry, I forgot to say, this starts in 1946 Manhattan. This woman is like going through this train station, hits her foot on this suitcase, bends down to see what it is, and finds out that it has these photos of different women in it. So she decides she's going to take the photos and figure out where they came from. So you're getting the point of view from her, but then you also get points of view of who the women were. She ends up finding out that they were like spies that were sent into France, women spies that were sent into France. And so you get the point of view of one of the spies and like the leader of that program, who is also a woman. And so you get these different points of views, and most of it was really unbelievable. I did a lot of eye rolling in this book. It was just not plausible that these women were making the decisions that she said they were. There were a lot of things in this book that were way too easy. At one point, one of the women is trying to investigate something after the war is over and shows up at Dachau wanting to interrogate or talk to one of the former Nazi officers there, and they pretty much just like let her in and let her do it. And I'm like, but that would not happen. No, like things like that just didn't make any sense. And then I also couldn't like wrap my head around why the later storyline, the 1946 woman, why she cared. She had no ties to these women at all. Like, it didn't make any sense. Like, her storyline was completely irrelevant to anything, and it was just frustrating. And so yeah, I gave this 2 stars. I really didn't like it, and I feel bad because I know a lot of people really did, and so maybe I just didn't get it. I don't know. But I still would like to try some other things by Pam Jenoff, but this was not the book for me. So that one was a bit of a miss. Another one that I buddy read that was also a bit of a miss for me is The Tobacco Wives by Adele Myers. I buddy read this one with Sam. Sorry. Whoa, mind blank. With Sam from Book Vibes, and we were supposed to have a live show on it, and then I ended up having a funeral that I had to attend and had to cancel that, which wasn't the worst thing that happened because I really did not like this book either. I found it really boring. The pacing was really weird. A lot of the conversations were really weird. I didn't really care about any of it. This follows, what's the main girl's name? Maddie, who is learning how to be a seamstress, and so she's visiting her aunt and kind of helping her be the seamstress and design these gowns for the tobacco wives, who were the wives of all the like upper echelon of the tobacco industry in the 1940s, I think is when this was set. 1946. And so it's like the elite of the elite within her community, and she's designing all their dresses for the events that they would go to and things like that. Well, she comes to find out that some of these bigwigs know that there are some adverse side effects of smoking. Who knew? And are trying to hide it. Wow, that's a shock, because this is like, we all know tobacco funded a lot of the economy in the South, and when they started realizing that there were some major health complications related to it, the tobacco industry didn't want to give that up. And so this basically was her trying to like confront that while still maintaining friendship with the wives, but she never really became friends with the wives, and there were never any like consequences for it. It was just weird. I did not like this book. I didn't like the writing. I didn't like the storyline. I did not like anything about it. So that was a bummer, but that one got probably like 1.5 stars. Another book that I read, though, that I really liked, I read this one for Chantel's Read Your Bookshelf challenge, because the challenge for last month was to read a book with your initials in the title, and this book had all of my initials in the title. So the Book of Unknown Americans by Christina Enriquez was fantastic. I loved this book. This was a cover buy at a thrift store for me. I had no idea, like, had never heard about it, and it was so good. So this book, it's fairly short. It tells the story of this Mexican family whose daughter has had like a brain injury and now needs special education services. And in Mexico, they told her like, there are some options here, but really your best bet is going to be to go to the US. And so her husband gets a job, they get their paperwork, they do it all like legit, and come to the US so that her daughter can attend special education, like a special education school. And through this book, you're getting their story, but you're also getting the story of a lot of the different people within their community. Specifically, there is a young boy the same age as their daughter who becomes friends with her, and so you get his perspective, his point of view, and other people like within their apartment complex. and things like that. You get their backstory of how they ended up in the US. Most of them, all of them are immigrants. How did they end up in the US in the situation that they are currently in? So some of them, it was a better situation than what they came from. Some of them, it was worse. And so you kind of got those snippets of those shorter stories, along with her mother, the girl's mother, and then the teenage boy are the primary two like points of view that you hear. And it was so well done. I really, really like this book. And so, yeah, 5 stars for this one too. All right, where am I at? Is that everything? I think that might be everything. Yeah, it is. Those are it. That's it. Those are the books that I read in the month of April. So like I said, not a lot. I did start but did not finish The Last Year of the War by Susan Meisner. I still am listening to this and plan on finishing it in May, but I'm really enjoying it so far. I ended up traveling a ton and not getting as much reading time at the end of the month as I was anticipating, and things kind of all fell apart. So anyway, like I said, that's it. Those are all the books that I read in April. If you have any opinions about any of the books that I shared with you today, I would love to hear those down below in the comment section. And that's going to do it for today. So I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you stick around and subscribe. And until next time, see ya.